Well, you can definitely count on us to support you if you want to do. Uh,
Definitely in Miami. I was about to say we definitely here. And then everyone thinks about Miami like the main city, but there are certain municipalities within Miami-Dade County that are predominantly Black that definitely need just an infusion of homegrown talent. And something that you said that I wanted to just talk a little bit and touch back on, and we can think about it sort of like the reverse migration. A lot of us are coming back to the South, right? A lot of us are coming
Mhm.
back to our roots, having gone off, and this idea that how do we make sure that we cultivate opportunities so that our talent stays instead of going off into the disparate communities, the cities that you just mentioned, or feeling like they have to go to PWIs instead of HBCU. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about, like, it feels like the work here in Memphis is intentionally about, let's make sure that we pour into the talent that is here so that they feel like they can stay at home and continue to grow their talents there. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things, and we talk a lot about it in the crowdfunding campaign and the write up, that of the history of that space and the history of that place is like very rich. So if you look at like the turn of the 20th century in the US South, there was certainly a pocket of Black wealth and entrepreneurship. In Memphis, Tulsa, Atlanta, other places in the US South, we've heard a lot over the last, I want to say, couple years when it was the anniversary of the Tulsa race riots about Black Wall Street. But there were many Black Wall Streets. And this area where Griggs College is was one of those pockets where, some of the most prominent Black entrepreneurs lived, and, they were building their businesses. And that was destroyed, much similar to Black Wall Street, a little bit different, but like, yes, actually white businessmen drove, like literally lit fire to these prominent Black businessmen's houses and let them burn down and said, oh, no, we don't have a fire truck. And that is what happened. And this was an area that was a manifestation of Black wealth. And when those houses burned down, they built one of the first and largest and most endemic public housing complexes in the city of Memphis right there. So like where this college is, you look across the street, you can see it's been torn down in like the last 2 years, but you can see where this major public housing complex was. And so there was really a systemic, I want to say, motivated, strategic move to wipe out Black wealth in the city of Memphis. It was intentional. And so when I think about the work that we're doing now, it is about like reversing those patterns that were meant to erase our legacy, especially when it comes to economic empowerment. It was certainly an intentional strategy to erase that legacy. But as we see more and more African Americans migrate from the coast back down south for all these different reasons, economic drivers, people can live wherever. Now we're in a more remote society. There should be opportunity for wealth to be built again, as this reverse migration pattern is happening. And that includes like creating opportunities for HBCUs to be thriving and successful and fully funded, but also to create these venture and innovation hubs where folks that are interested in getting in technology, which is continuing to be one of the most exponentially fast growing industries there is, can do so. And not just, as I said, as employees, but as employers. Because in Memphis, you have major employers. So you have FedEx, you have Nike, it's a major distribution hub, but it doesn't have a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem for marginalized people. And that, I think, is problematic. If you look at a city just very similar to it, just south of it, in Atlanta. And so I think the potential is there. We need to put, resources and support there so that we can grow the ecosystem significantly.
I want to talk a little bit about the idea of technology. I think when you certainly started Black Girls Code, technology was its sort of own industry. But now I think technology has grown to such a standpoint that to me, it's like math and English. Everyone needs to have some kind of digital tech literacy. Can you talk a little bit more about the expansion of technology as a as it pertains to just everyday life, that it's actually infused in everything that we do, and there isn't like we have to be in the tech space per se. Everybody needs to have some sort of technological background in order to navigate the 21st century and beyond.
Yes, I have always loved this one quote by Doug Rushkoff that is, he's like a futurist, and he has this quote in a book, I think, even called "Code or Be Coded," and he probably wrote this only 10 years ago now. I'm not sure, but it speaks to this notion that everything we touch has some element of technology embedded in it. It's very difficult for me to think of any industry that does not rely on technology. And I don't think that technology, we've only scratched the surface. So when we look at things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, we look at things now like cybersecurity, we look at Web3 and blockchain. We've just scratched the surface of the power and potential of technology to transform our lives. And so I say that from the standpoint that not only does tech touch every single facet of our lives and everything that we do, but it touches us in ways that we don't want it to. And so I think it makes it important. Like this conversation is always, there's always a conversation about AI. Is it good or is it bad? But we've only touched the surface of what artificial intelligence can do. It is going to be a predominant indicator of how we live in the future. It is. And so we need to understand that. So I think that ignorance is not bliss. So, like, I think that we cannot run away from the technology. We have to be cognizant of what it is and how it's used, what its capabilities are, because you can't fight anything if fighting needs to happen if you don't understand, the enemy, so to speak, if it's an enemy. But maybe it is not. But I think in either way, pro or con, we cannot hide behind ignorance. We have to understand these technologies, how it is being used, and understand how it impacts us in every way.